So let's get into this. Let's talk about some of your adventures, like your astral adventures. Like when you got there and you were speaking to beings and stuff, were there other beings that were aware that this realm is like a prison type place? And are they looking to escape just like we are? Or I mean, well, a lot of humans aren't looking to escape. Let's be honest. A lot of people are stuck in the matrix. But I mean, like people like you and me, are there entities out there that are like us, that are trying to find a way out, or are all entities, would you say, against us that you've met in the astral? I mean, when I say against
Okay.
us, you mean like against our sovereignty or free will to get out of here?
Okay. Most of what I do is not in the astral. It's not in because this is not a projection of my spirit body. This is projected in my consciousness. Now, I've been in the astral. I know what the astral is like. Okay. What I'm doing is other dimensions or other realities. This is far beyond the astral. So we have like I don't know, I think there's 12 or 13 levels of the astral, and then above that we have the mental plane. So the astral plane is accessible with our spirit body, and the soul is accessible above that in the mental plane. Okay. So what's happening is I'm utilizing a connection from my physical body. So if I was going to go on the astral, I would utilize my spirit body. I'm not utilizing that. I'm going straight. So what I'm doing is, instead of projecting my consciousness into my spirit or into my soul, I'm projecting it away. So we have a three body system currently. We have the physical, the spirit, and we have the soul. And we also have a subconsciousness, which is not part of not I would say the three body system and the subconsciousness, we don't need any of them. The only thing we need, and the real us, is our consciousness. Everything else was we're trapped within. We are connected to. So when I open a portal connection, I'm projecting my consciousness through that connection. Now, it's still connected to my physical body. I understand that I'm still there. I can still move it. But when I'm in that connection, it feels like I'm physically there. I might be physically sitting at a chair and somebody's talking to me, or I might be standing at one end of a cave and somebody's talking to me. Yet I know I'm still here in this room, but I know I'm there at the same time. So I know there's a connection. There's a connection as if I was sitting, on the floor there and on the floor here at the same time. So I'm focusing on what's happening at that location. Now, sometimes I go to places and they'll just give me information. They'll be talking when I get there. And a lot of the information is pretty basic. There's nothing really groundbreaking. It's not like saying, oh, free energy or anything of that nature. It's not like that. So what I was at first, I was going there and just listening. I wouldn't say anything. I would just listen to what they had to say. And I realized, well, there's not really much to see or understand here. It was just kind of like, I wasn't impressed. So I would go at certain times and certain ones would tell me. Then I decided, well, let's change this up. Let's make it a little bit more interesting. So then I started experiencing two-dimensional worlds where I would I would see things that didn't look anything like what we would normally see. I would almost consider some of them as doodles. But the world is completely a flat. It's all flat. Now, when I say flat, when I'm looking at it, it looks like it's my 360-degree view, but the things that are moving are all flat, and everything is just it's almost like 6 or 8 layers all flattened down, and they're moving within each other. So they might act like beehives, or they might act like insects. They know I'm there. They start to gather around, and they're all in different forms and shapes. And other times I'll end up somewhere looking through the eyes of people on Earth, or I would say they were on Earth. So there's a whole mirror, just a ton
Myriad.
of different things
Yeah.
that can happen. So I don't just go and just see other beings. I kind of got bored with that because what their images are all just to benefit me so that I don't feel either threatened or whatever. They're not giving me really good any information. So I'm not even sure what's I'm really meeting with. And none of them ever portrayed anything that I would feel is threatened. But over time, once you see this over and over, you realize there's got to be more out there. I'm just not being shown or not connecting with what's really going on. It's almost like a lot of times when I get there, they put on a show just to make me feel comfortable and not show me what's really going on. And other times I go to other places and I'll see more. But at no time did anybody ever threaten me or anything. But what they do is they make hints, they make suggestions, and none of the ones that I'll follow through with, because it's almost like, don't tell them anything, don't give them any outside information. We have to keep this under wraps. So when I start to put things together, I realize that there's an agenda going on, obviously, and it's pretty much everywhere we can connect with. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't farther connections down the line that would be much more open, but what's happening when we're in this three body system and I think there's a serious corrosive veil that is far enough out so that we can't get beyond it. So our information can't get out and other information can't get in. It's almost like, 1,000 miles around the earth, they have another, force field or whatever. And it keeps people from really getting any outside information. And it keeps the outside information from getting into us. So even though I can connect with a lot of places, it doesn't necessarily mean that I could see everything that's happening. I get to see a lot of things that are happening, but we are highly limited and highly filtered. Well, what's happening is, like, when you're dreaming at night normally and you're not lucid, then your subconsciousness is within your spirit body traveling around. And then when it comes back and you wake up in the morning, you have these memories and they're dreams. What's happening is your subconsciousness is connected to a network. I know you want to call it the etheric network or, whatever. What it does is your subconsciousness is there as your personal guard. It's a guard that protects you from information that you may want. What it's doing is it keeps you unknowingly away from the portal connections. It keeps you away from the astral. What it does is it's damage control. It's there to control. It's to make sure that you don't go out of line. So when I'm making these portal connections, my biggest factor, the biggest thing that was working against me was my own subconsciousness, because it would go there and I caught it being in that location because my consciousness is so trigger happy that it caught that information, that the exchange, but it couldn't bring anything back because of the filter between outside of us and where we're at. I call it the veil. So the subconscious has been doing that my whole life, and it doesn't give me any information. The same thing with dreams. You can't really learn much from your dreams. You almost need an interpreter, and that's just a bunch of BS, because why would you need an interpreter for your own dreams? They're your dreams. Come on.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
I've often wondered if dreams are, and I've talked to people about this and got different, because I've often wondered if dreams are parallel realities, because I have these dreams. I've told people this. I've talked about this many times on my show, where I'll be in this dream for like it'll seem like I'm there for 2 weeks. Like I could be on like a barn and I'm building barns, I'm on a farm and I'm building barns and like milking cows, and like, or I'll be in a city landscape and I'm like a criminal and I'm being chased down. These are different sets of like different, it seems like I'm living different lives throughout the dream. Then I wake up and it's only been 8 hours, but it seems like I just spent 2 weeks in this other reality, if that makes any sense, in a dream
right.
reality. But I don't know. What do you think about that?
I
And I didn't
call
mean to
that
go off
being
track.
I call that being in a kind of monotonous dream. I call it being parked. What happens is you're in that dream. There's really nothing going on that you're going to learn from. There's just a bunch of, just monotonous tasks. You know, what it is it's just a way to keep you at bay. It's only going to feed you information thinking that you're doing something, nothing, and who knows what was happening, because your subconscious is going to filter that out away from you. So what we receive in our dreams is just a bunch of BS.
Oh, that's
I've been
cool.
logging dreams for over 30 years, And there really isn't anything that I've ever found in there that you could utilize for anything. Most of it's just mindless, shiny objects, nothing that's really going to give you any information because it's your subconscious feeding you filtered junk. Your subconsciousness is not on your side. It's not on my side. Your consciousness is the you. Your subconsciousness is that filter. You don't want it. We don't want the three body system and we don't want the filter. So our consciousness is the one who's really us. But somehow it's interconnected and intertwined with all three bodies and the subconscious. No, we can't get away from it at this point. So what I'm trying to do, my whole personal goal is to get us disconnected from this system and eventually bring the system down. So what we need to do is first disconnect ourselves from the game, is what I call it, the game of life. You know, we are being 24/7 barraged with media and shiny objects, bad news, good news, whatever, just to keep us enthralled. And drama, there's a ton of drama in life. It keeps us enthralled so that we stay hyper-focused on our physical life and not on what we would consider spirituality. And like you said, it's a prison here. And then when you go on the astral, that's the prison yard. You have the prison guards, which are the spirit, what people call the spirit guides or angels or devils. They're all interchangeable. They can make themselves look like anything that you want to see because they know you better than you know you. They're all connected to what people call the Akashic records, which is an etherical database. It's a database that you can't see, touch, or have. But what it is, it's information that's all around us, just like a radio station or Wi-Fi signal. These beings can tap into it. So if you happen to get on the astral and have an astral projection, they already know everything about you when you show up. So they're either going to, if you want to see your grandma, then they're going to look like your grandma. Or they're going to look at your childhood friend, or they're going to get angel, whatever you would expect. They're going to do that. They're going to look like that. They're going to portray themselves as that because they know everything that you know and more. So when you get on there, they're going to tell you what you want to hear. You're going to follow them. You're going to take everything they say as gospel. And they got you under their wing. And therefore, you're not going to learn anything because they're damage control. They're just going to keep you fed what the agenda requires. So you're there and you're going to not learn anything.
Okay, so what do we do from that? What do we do then? What is the? I'm trying to think of a good question to ask you. Like,
so what we need to do, each one of us, first of all, you have to be in control of yourself. You have to be in control of the way you think. You have to be in control of your emotions, and you have to be in control of your feelings. Let's take in a simple example. Somebody maybe you don't like, and they say something that triggers you, okay, sets you off. You get pissed off at them, okay? Number one, they just controlled you. You allowed them control of you. You allowed them to control your feelings, your emotions. They triggered you. See that? If somebody can easily trigger you that simply, then what makes you think that you can't be easily controlled any other way? Because you have to be in control of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and understand that your feelings and your emotions are yours only. They don't they don't affect anybody else. Those are yours. And if you can't understand that those are yours only and they don't affect other people, then you'll never come to realize that you're not in control unless you can accept responsibility for everything. Once you accept responsibility, then you can say, okay, now I'm in control. I'm not going to get triggered by these people. If people say stuff all the time, it's stupid. So what? Move on. You have to understand there are bigger things in life. And by focusing on that drama, you are keeping yourselves anchored here forever. You're never going to get out unless you understand. It's drama. It's for an effect. Everything that we realize during life, it's it's an effect. It has an effect on you. So when you have your car breaks down or you have a problem at home, whatever, it's creating an effect and you're reacting to it. And when you're depressed and when you feel alone and you feel like you have no power and that sort of thing, you're emitting low level frequencies. We're energy beings. We have that all the time. And that's what's preferred by the ones causing the issues with us. So we have to uplift ourselves, be self-reliant, and become free. And what we do is by not focusing on all the shiny objects that we hear about. There's a war over here. Well, the president just said that. Well, this party said this, and this person did this. Every 15 minutes, there's a new thing, a new shiny object for you to focus on. And you're going to keep going from one shiny object to another, and you'll never get anywhere because it's a game. It's like playing tennis. You got two guys, and they're hitting the ball back and forth. And every time one of them hits the ball, you're so hyper focused on it. Then the other one hits the ball. It's the same game. It's just over and over and over. I'm not here to let people know, what the latest shiny objects are. I'm here to let them know that they need to step away from that. And all the drama in your life, the more drama you allow, the more drama you will have. So when we disconnect ourselves, we begin to look back and go, because when you get older, sometimes you'll sit back and go, why did I get so mad? That is such a menial thing. In the whole grand scheme of things, why would it even upset me? Because that doesn't have any effect on me. I was just so caught up in the moment and so caught up in the conversation or whatever that I let it affect me. You can't let outside things affect you because otherwise you're not in control. And what I'm trying to get to here is once you are in control, then you can begin to have control of your dream state. Because when you are conscious and aware of your situation, when you're consciously aware, whether it's in the dream state or not, then you are in control. But if your subconscious has got your astral body floating around and at the end of the night it comes back 8 hours later, half of your life every day, you get these dreams that make no sense. That means you're not in control. If you're not in control, then you don't know what's happening. You'll have dreams somebody, like I was saying, somebody could walk into your house and you really don't even like them in a dream, but you won't do anything about it, even though you don't like them. Why? Because the dream state is telling you you're not in control of this. We are. And we're going to do whatever we want to do, and you're going to accept it. And this leads to something else. Some people think that, when you die, when it comes down to it, you're just going to be able to say, I just don't want to come back. I want to be out of the system of recycling. Well, that sounds great. If that was the case, none of us would probably be here. But in reality, what happens is the dream state's an illusional state if you're not consciously there. Well, what do you think that state's going to be like? It's going to be illusional. It's going to be like you die and it's like giving you an injection of drugs. You're going to be in this hypo whatever state. You're going to be all lethargic. Your subconsciousness is going to be making the decisions. You'll be somewhat there and you'll know something's going on, but you won't have any conscious awareness to be able to control the situation. You're going to agree to whatever somebody's asking you, and you're going to get sucked back in. That's why things happen the way they do, because we're not in control. If you're consciously there, if your consciousness can go from one state to another and be consciously aware, then you aren't going to make those mistakes. So in order to get out of a system that's meant to trap you, they're not going to make it easy. None of it's easy. But you have to be in control. And the only way to be in control is to begin at the bottom. And if you can't be in control here in the physical, you'll never make it out of anything. Because it only gets more difficult as you move into different levels.
Wow. And would you say the lights is definitely a trick like that? From everything you explained, it seems like that's a given, right? Like that they're using the light as a trick, and they'll say it's your grandmother, your aunt, whatever, just to get you to recycle and reincarnate back here over and over again. Is that?
Yeah, I'm not sure of the whole process because I haven't gotten that far yet. But what's happening is, and I can see the pattern. The pattern is We have control because you won't take control. Now, if we were timid animals, if we were timid beings, then they would have just came in and took over, and there wouldn't be any question. They wouldn't have to do this. There's obviously, we have abilities and we have functionality that they understand that we don't, because obviously our memories have been wiped, that we have the ability to overcome. And so that's why they do the slow roll. It's just slowly just roll all over our freedoms and our individualities, and they just keep taking over. But they can't take over unless we allow them to, because we do all the jobs on this planet. They don't do any job. They make demands. And if you continue to follow all the demands, then it won't matter. You're not going to go anywhere. You're just going to be rolled over. But we have to allow them to do it. And people are allowing it because they're not awake. But if you're in control of your own life and you're saying, hey, my moral compass says, screw you, I'm not doing that, then you don't do it. But if you say, well, I really don't believe in that, and I don't think it's right, but I'm going to do it anyways because I was told it's the right thing to do. Well, then you've given up. The worst thing you can do is to give in or give up, because you think it's hard now. You give in or give up, it's going to be way worse. You don't even want to know what's going to happen. So we have to take control. But if you're not in control of yourself, then it won't matter. If you take control of yourself, at some point when it's needed, it will be there. We've been too lazy for too long. We have abilities we don't understand. We have absolutely no idea what we're capable of. It's amazing what we can do, but we just have to discover it.
So we're at a point where we're multi-layered, and we're a spiritual being trapped in a physical body. We're actually trapped in three bodies. We have the physical body, the astral body, and the soul. We're trapped in all those. We don't need any of them. Our consciousness is the us, and that our consciousness is all we pretty much need. So I'll deal with another issue people have. They say, when I get into the dream state, I can't always make decisions. It's because you're not consciously doing that. And so you're under an illusional spell when you're doing things of that nature. So I try to push with everyone to be consciously aware of their situation, no matter where they're at, whether in a dream or not. You always want your consciousness available. It can be switched into the dream state. You can do that. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of time. But the more consciously aware you are of everything, every point of your existence, then you'll be in control. You're not in control if you're not consciously there. And that's what they figure on the dream state. We get programming in the dream state. We get programming in the physical. It's always happening to us. But unless you're consciously aware of what's going on, you will never know that.
And is that part of let's say our waking day here is the Matrix? Is the dream also part of the Matrix then, is what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, what I say, we're in the prison. The physical life is the prison. And then the astral is the prison yard. So all the beings in the astral what they're doing is they're following their orders, and they're trying to get you to stay with the same agenda. So they figure if you get them under your wing, and what they can do is they can project themselves as angels, they can project themselves as demons, your mom, your dad, your great aunt, your kids, whatever. They have a thing called the Akashic records, or basically it's an etherical record system that records everything we say, do, and everything. So what happens is when you enter that realm, they're damage control. And what they're doing is they can access those records, and they know everything about us when we get there. So when you get there, they're like, oh yeah, they want to see grandpa. So they'll have the image of grandpa because they know what he looks like. They know all the information on you. So what's going to happen is they're going to imitate anything that they feel that you need in order to start following them.
When you met these beings then, did you get that impression, or over time, that they're almost sounds like they're prison guards that making sure we don't jump over the wall when we're in the prison yard? So we're out the prison into the yard, and it sounds like these guys are on the watchtowers. Is that sort of the...
Yeah. Well, what it is so we're in the physical life, and there are always going to be people that are able to jump into the astral, either by mistake or they're trying. They get into that plane, they think, okay, I'm free, you know, I can check all this stuff out, and everything I receive is going to be spiritual because they're all good and great. That's what I've been told. Well, what they're there, like I said, they're damage control. They're there to make sure that you don't discover anything that you wouldn't normally discover in your normal daily lives. So they get you under their wing, and they're going to feed you information. Like psychics, they have spirit guides. They go, oh yeah. So I put it this way: many years experience with a lot of people, a lot of information. I quit reading books many years ago because the information they were sending out, most of it was just garbage. There's only a few people I've ever met in my life that really knew what they were talking about. Very few. So you get it. They publish all this crap. They have all these videos. You know, it's just crap. So they tell you, oh yeah, your spirit guides and all this stuff, and all these psychics have these spirit guides. What information are they passing on this groundbreaking, like free energy, or you know, how to clean air, or they bring up stuff that doesn't make any sense. Like, and I bring up the fact that, okay, there's 460,000 children in the United States every year that go missing. Okay, maybe we could say, okay, maybe 10,000 would be a normal number, but 460,000. Well, if these spirit guides were helping these psychics, then we wouldn't have all these missing children. You know, I mean, if they were really helping like they say they would. Yeah. No, it's just a facade. All it is fake. It's all to make you feel good. And my thing is, if we had 100 politicians a year that were going missing, they'd shut all the countries down and they'd investigate it. But the children, doesn't matter.
No.
You know? So we have to look at things in realistically. So when people begin on a path, it's not just about, you know, the information that you see, or just about the things that you see, or trying to connect to the astral and stuff. What it is, it's about learning about what's really happening. And I had all these experiences, and I still have them. But what I had to do is come to a conclusion of what was really going on. What was behind the scenes? What was creating this? Where are we going? So I had to sit down and really think it out. It took me a long time. And then I even got to the point where I would question myself, to the point where I would just like, do I need to start over again? You know, but it's you go through things because there's nobody to help you. There's nobody to answer your question. So you get very, very, you get frustrated beyond frustration. So you have to deal with this, and you have to deal with it yourself, and you have to realize you need to depend on yourself. You will get answers eventually, but you need to work for it. You really need to press yourself. So we're currently in a situation where we're being manipulated, high levels of manipulation through the media, through social networking, everything, dream state, everything. This has all been going on for a long time. People are finally starting to wake up after things that have happened recently. But it's not just understanding what's going on. It's disconnecting yourself from the media, disconnecting yourself from the news, because what's happening is the shiny object over here is the war. The shiny object over here is the politics. So what they do is they're all playing tennis. It's all on the same side. They're just it's all the same coin. It's just two sides of the coin. They're just going to keep flip-flopping you from one to the, oh, this one did this. This one did this. Okay, this one won a little bit. Okay, this one won a little bit. All they're doing is they're keeping you enthralled in the game.
And it's so effective as well, what they do, because
it is.
Because one day it's what Biden did, but then the next day it's, oh, there's a war, and then there's something about some disease or something, and then there's some election rigging. And so, like you say, there's this shiny ball, and everybody's going after it. And while they're doing that, which, like, you know, I'm in full agreement, it's a story that they keep moving around, because while you're busy chasing this story, you're unable to devote time to what you need. And it's not just the time. They make it so you get frustrated. Or they can steal up to $950 worth of stuff in San Francisco. So everybody's got to get in a rage about that. And while it's not just the distraction intellectually, it's like emotionally as well. And I have to hand it to them. They're genius at that side of things.
Oh, it's a psycho-illogical operation. So what's happening is they understand us better than we understand ourselves, because they have access to the information that we don't normally have access to. And the only way you're going to get to that access is by working towards it. and it takes a long time. So that's why my thing is I try to tell people and try to get people to become consciously aware of what you're doing, what you're thinking, what your emotions are. And let me give you an example. So somebody you know says something and if it really pisses you off, it sets you off. You have just allowed that person to trigger you. You have allowed them to control you. And that's exactly what's happening. And as long as you allow others to control you by doing what they say or do or whatever, or control your feelings, that means you are under full control of something or someone else. And that's what the news does to you. It triggers you. They've got certain trigger points that they know that the population gets pissed off about, whether it's about kids or if it's about people getting killed or whatever. They know your trigger points. But you have to be in control of yourself, because what happens is we emit low levels of vibrational frequencies when we're depressed and when we're feeling bad or when we're fearful and that sort of thing. You have to be in control of yourself. You don't want to fear anything, because what happens is your fear feeds them.
And is that the loosh is that the loosh some people describe?
Yeah, I would say I would probably be compared to the loosh. But not only that, that's why everything is so bad news now.
Yeah.
That's just part of it. But the whole thing is, if you can control yourself, then you won't feed that whole system. But also, it's becoming consciously aware. If your consciousness is you, if that is the part of you, then you need to detach yourself from what's happening around you. Now, you're obviously going to have to still live. You're going to have to, physically work and that sort of thing. But you have to remain conscious within yourself, and you know what you're doing, what you're deciding, why you're doing it, and you're retaining your independence, and you're not going to follow along with the agenda. So tell you, oh, do this, and it's against your moral code, then you're not going to do it. Everybody should have a good moral compass. And if you go against your own moral compass, then you're selling yourself out.
Yeah,
the world can't go to hell unless a major portion of us allow it.
Take it there, yeah.
We have to help in order for it to happen. We have to make it happen. That's what I work on. So the whole purpose behind what I'm doing is I got to the point where I said I have to have an end game. There has to be a reason behind this. And the reason behind it was in order to get people out of the system that we're at. We're out of the recycle system.
Yeah. That's for sure. And so that's what I'm trying to do, as of realizing that seems to be the thing that we're in. It's like, well, we need to get out, because clearly there's a lot of suffering that goes on. So I'm assuming that, would it be fair to say that the people running this world, not necessarily the leaders that are puppets, but the people running this world, would you suspect that they know what's going on and they've got some kind of deal going where we'll make it cushy for you, you just help us do what we're trying to do to get these beings suffering?
Maybe some of the higher ups, and I'm sure there's different types of associations in that are working with them, whoever it is. And I think the beings are probably either non or partially non-physical. Obviously there's some non-physicality in this whole mix. But yeah, I'm sure there is. I try not to get too much in the dynamics I focus really on getting out of the system. So my understanding is more how the system works, how the manipulation is being handled. And my whole goal is to find the way, show everybody how to do it. And that's what I started doing. Because you need to be in control of yourself, first of all. In order to be free, you have to be free consciously. So once you're in control of your conscious and your feelings and your thoughts, that's going to be your first step. And getting out of the game. Getting out of the game is going to be another. You're going to be doing it all at one time. It's just going to be, you have all these layers that you're going to need to work in, but you're going to have to do them all simultaneously. Because we don't have time to, spend 50 years in trying to do something. So once you get to that point and you're able to control yourself, and step away from what's happening and not get stuck on the news and every time there's a new story, because that's what everybody's hyper focusing on, because that's the whole point of what's going on. Then once you get away from that, you understand that there's nothing around that you can trust. The only one that you can trust is yourself. and understand that we are a spiritual being trapped in physical bodies. So we have the ability, or we have abilities to do things that we have no concept of, because nobody's ever taught or ever told us that.